Let's go ahead and bring in Steiner Sports CEO, Brandon Steiner.
One of the country's top memorabilia mogul.
I have an unbelievable guest, Brandon Steiner.
Brandon's second to none.
M.Maione is, by the way, this is not a smart guy. He's a genius. This is one of the smartest guys I've ever run into. And we're going to talk about fantasy sports, but we're also going to talk about the Fantasy Sports Network, which is owned by SportsGrid. The man, there's no number that escapes this man. But what I'm really intrigued about also is the gambling part of it, that aspect, and how people, I mean, you hear about DraftKings and FanDuel, but Lewis has got a different perspective, and it'll get you thinking. And you know something? We may not have had our most fun yet with sports yet, and Lewis is going to explain why. First of all, thank you for coming on board. I don't know what, I mean, I was going to mug you and hijack you but I maybe got put in jail for that because we've been trying to get you on this show for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And your mindset is so out of the box. I think this is the appropriate sign. This probably should be in your office because there's nothing in the box in the way you think. And plus, we're hoop junkies.
That's right. Hoop
We
junkies
love our
for
basketball.
sure.
Anyway, first of all, how are you?
Good. I can't complain. You?
Let's give Rock and Reilly's a little plug.
Oh, yeah?
By the way, if you're in the city, and especially if you're going to Madison Square Garden, great restaurant, Rock and Reilly's on 35th Street between 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
Love the place.
Closer to 7th, yeah.
It's kind of been my new favorite joint. I've been going there. It's got the beautiful outside terrace. You wouldn't even see this place coming. But I love the food, by the way. I was there. You weren't there the other day. Saw Anita Marks.
Oh, yeah? Love
We
it.
was having a little party with her ESPN gals. And even took my wife. My wife gave it a little check. Yeah, we come back here.
That's
It's
great.
all right,
Oh,
cool.
that I like to hear.
Because, you know, the garden with concerts and all the different
Sure.
games. We need that go-to place.
Yeah.
So Rock and Reilly's, by the way. I'm giving the plug. He's not even shamelessly plugging his own joint. I am.
I appreciate
Anyway.
Thank you.
A lot of entrepreneurs out there and crazy sports fans to boot. Explain to me why fantasy sports and SportsGrid, how that all works.
Sure. So I think the today, the younger generation, pre-millennial, the millennials, the way they consume content is way different than we did as children, right? And I think if you're interested in capturing their attention and their time, you have to look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what they want. Data is really the key. So the way I look at it is no matter how you view the world, data is the most important aspect of what's going on in the younger generation's minds, right? So they're not looking to watch the game the way you're watching the game, right? So you're going freezing your ass off.
How are they looking to watch the game?
On their phones, mobile. They just want to know who hit the ball, where they went, did they win, how they won, highlights.
How many hits my guy
That's
who had
it.
a fancy had?
That's it. So they're looking at the statistical data.
So
right?
data is king,
Data's king.
not cash.
No. Well, cash is still king and always will be
All right.
king.
So
And
cash and data are
That's
king.
right.
All right.
Let's make
Got
sure
that
we know
straight,
that.
yeah.
That's right. But I think data leads to cash. So everyone talks about big data and the way data is broken down. I like to look at it as rich data, real data. That's the way I talk about data. Data to me comes in different forms, in different shapes and sizes, and it depends on the business that you're in. So for you, it could be the data on the customer and the demographic, and that's how you sell more of your merchandise. For me, it's about looking at statistical data broken down in ways that it's easily consumed and entertaining at the same time, which sounds difficult, right? For the younger demo and the younger folks in this world, the premillennials, like I like to say, and millennials, they want data, they want it quick, and they want to know what's going on, so they're looking at feeds. So that's why the Twitters, the Facebooks, all these social media streams do very well, because at the end of the day, they get their content and they also get the entertainment because they're with their peers, right? And they can share. It's shareable. So bite-sized content, quick data, shareable content.
We call it snackable content.
Snackable, bite-sized, exactly. So if you look at the world that we're living in, content to me is king. Cash still always king. But when you look at it, I say to myself, okay, SportsGrid, what is SportsGrid? It's a tech media company. Tech being first because the data, the engineers, what we're collecting allows the media to happen and what I call the time crunch. We're competing for people's time, just like you're competing for people's time. The Yankees are competing for people's time. M.Maione's competing for people's time. We want to make sure that we're a tech media company so that the tech part of the media allows them to get it in bite-sized content, quickly consumable, and then they're able to use that and share it.
So give me an example of like
Okay.
what type of tech, what kind of information. Now, Sports Fantasy Network is one of your assets,
One
which
of
you
them,
get on
yes.
your cable or DirecTV.
Sure.
Right?
Radio. Yeah. Free radio.
And
iHeart, TuneIn,
But when I'm thinking of like
terrestrial.
when I'm working my fantasy teams and stuff like that, am I going to your source to get that data?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that-
so?
yeah.
So if you look at the tech media side of it, then if you take it one rung down, it's think the convergence of content, data, and gaming. Okay. So now, what are the verticals? What are the business lines that we have? Esports. So the esports network we own. The fantasy sports network we own. The gaming network, right? The soon-to-come gambling network, because we're going to get into where the world's going there.
God help us.
Yeah.
Because,
that's
I
it.
mean, the gaming network will be the whole thing opened up because then you're going to get into the highest level of
Sure.
the game broken down for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Or maybe the right reasons.
Depending on who you're talking
How
to.
far is that going to go, Lewis? Like when you talk about gambling, have we even seen the initial aspects? But now we just talk about a spread.
Yeah.
Where's it going to go?
Yeah. So if you look at our company and the way we're collecting data and the way we're doing the media, you have what I would say a funnel. So there's content, great rich content, consumable content, and then we're going to push through the funnel. So when pushing through the funnel, it could be, I brought you some hats, Fantasy Sports Network hats. Yeah, they're outside. So that's merchandise, right? Yeah. So there's merchandise, right? So you sell the merchandise. Well, it could be that you're selling the data. It could be that you're data and analytics, research reports, all the way to the end of that, the tip, which is transacting business. What could that mean? Could be placing a bet. Could be playing fantasy sports. Could be watching somebody on Twitch and donating money. I want them to push the button. So the content is there to capture the attention and then push them through the funnel.
Give me an example of the
transact.
content,
Okay.
though. Like,
So-
I'm trying to
all
get my
right,
arms around this.
So
like,
right
for
now,
example.
here's content right here, right? You and I are talking. So right now, there's
At
needs
least
to
we
be a
think
purpose.
that's content.
That's right. So it's what does the consumer think?
Yeah.
The data will tell us. It's
By
not
how many
just-
people view it, how many people watch it.
That's what I
but
call
are
data.
People,
That's not rich, real data.
Yeah, but what are people paying for when it comes to, let's say, fantasy sports that you're providing? Like, what would they?
Right. So we're sitting here talking, and some folks will measure by downloads. They'll measure by how many listeners, 450,000, this and that. You hear people saying how many people are listening. Well, how many people are really listening, engaging, and then acting upon it? That's really what I care about. I don't care about how many listeners you have. What's your conversion rate? I care not about the data from here. I care about rich, real data. Data that actually puts money in someone's pocket, that actually transacts and moves the business world in a circle, right? A virtual circle. So it's great that we're going to talk here.
Like
but what are we doing? Where are we moving
What puts
people?
money in your pocket when you
Okay.
on a day-to-day? It's
Okay.
Is it SportsGrid or Fantasy Sports Network?
So SportsGrid
Overs-
is the overseeing entity. Think the holdco.
Okay.
Right? The grid. We're sports, news, and entertainment.
Okay.
So SportsGrid is the grid, sports vertical.
But if I wanted to get this kind of data, do I go to fantasysportsnetwork.com or do I go to sportsgrid.com?
So depending on the data, depending what you're looking for. So
Okay.
Fantasy Sports Network, think of it as aggregating, curating the best in the business, right, to give you that content that will help you win. Now, if you want to drill down, that's the content piece, this piece. Now, as you're drilling down, you say to yourself, okay, what am I doing listening to that? Am I just wasting my time, passing time, getting educated, entertained? Or am I trying to take that information and translate it into dollars? Okay. Well, I believe that's what folks do. Now, for you, it may be motivating them to get up off their ass and go get a job and do better at their job, right? Listening to your stories and what you've done. You're a mentor to me and a friend of mine. I've listened to you and taken advice from you, and it's made me dollars. That's rich and real.
Thank you.
But how do you put that and quantify that? How do you put that into piece?
How?
Right, exactly. So we know that, but do they know it? I don't know. Ask them. Do they know what you've done for me and for other people? Do they know that listening to you can put money in their pocket? I don't know that. How do I get that? I could tell you.
Has listening to me put money in your pocket? Has it helped you? I'd love to hear from you. If you have some
right.
feedback or comments, I'd love to hear from you below.
We'll give you some free hats.
But the question is, how do you put money in your pocket at Sports Fantasy Network by supplying them?
Okay.
Yeah, give me an example of that.
So now they're listening to our show. Let's take our Carton and Friends show. So we have a new show. It's going to be a national show.
When does that start? I mean, as in
Just
Craig
started.
Carton?
Yeah, Craig Carton. Yeah. We just
When
signed
is
him.
this?
We just signed him.
Dude, it's like you. When
Yeah.
is this happening?
Yeah. So that
Craig
happened.
Carton from WFN,
Yeah, number one
Wow.
morning show, Boomer and Carton.
and he's doing what is it, afternoons or mornings? Or?
Yeah, so he's doing 9 to 1, 4 hours. We've been testing it for about, I'd say, a month. We've done very well, and it went live a couple weeks ago, and we're about to make some announcements on some big distribution deals. Yeah, so we're very excited about that. But let's just take that for example, right? Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It is a big deal
Well,
because
congratulations. I always like Craig. I know he's gotten himself in a little bit of trouble, but Craig's. I always like Craig. I mean,
Love him.
Craig's a great guy,
Love
and in all honesty, like he's extremely entertaining. He's extremely
Talented.
talented, and sometimes bad things happen, or just bad behavior can happen to really good people, and hopefully it'll be
okay.
Hopefully it'll be okay, but also that'll be kind of what kind of feeds the show probably too.
That's the thing. So again, entertainment. When you have people that are in the mud every single day, right? Passionate people are people that do and act upon what they're talking about. Someone like you just don't talk. You walk the walk. So every day, why do I watch what you create? I watch it because I believe it. I know it to be true. So when I listen or read something that you write, it's not BS. I know it's reality. It's experience. And if you take the experience of people that have come before you in the business world and were successful, you can take it and make it your own. You can take bits and pieces of it and make it your own, right? So somebody like Craig, he was great at one thing in life.
Which is
bad at other things.
Which sometimes is enough.
Exactly. But you have to harness that power. My job is to harness it,
Okay.
to control it, and get him to focus on being the best radio personality and not worrying about what everybody else thinks, not worry about what other people are doing on their shows, worry about our show.
Because I would say that message to everyone is that it really the ultimate goal, even though you're going to be good at a bunch of things, is to just be great at one thing.
One thing.
If you're great at one
Focus.
thing, the
That's right.
doors open up like there's no tomorrow. And I always use Mariano Rivera as an
Yes.
example.
I've heard you
the
use that before.
man just basically could throw one pitch.
You chased the story about you chasing him down. I mean, like, I remember these stories, and there's so many of them. But that's one you're bringing him up. I remember that story.
in
and
99, after the
I
World
think it was
Series.
like across the park at the parking lot. Remember the parking
I
lot?
stayed in there. It was freezing cold till like 1 in the morning. He's the last guy out, but he won the MVP.
But did you get him?
Oh, he's no question.
Okay. And if you didn't, would you have tried again?
Oh, no, I wasn't leaving him.
See?
I told him I was going to be, I'd wake up and I'd be in his bed with
But
his
didn't you have
wife,
a
Clara.
choice with one? It was one of my friends.
It was
Jim
between him and
Larritz.
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 Well, Larritz hit the last home run of the
He was
century.
just on our show.
Like, Larritz hits the last home run of the century. We're at the
That's right.
plaza. Somehow I get into this party.
I remember.
And there's nobody other than the Yankees at this party. Yeah. So this is a celebration party. It's me, one of my workers, and I would say maybe 3 or 4 other people that were non-Yankees.
Right.
You had the Yankee team and a few wives. I'm like, and Larry's like, Brandon, you want to do this deal? I'm like, dude, I'll get to your deal tomorrow. Right now, I cannot lose sight of Mariano Rivera. And I had a good relationship with Mariano, but I was like, there's no way this guy's leaving my sight.
Right.
And believe me, that next morning, Mariano was in this office. We signed our deal,
Yeah,
which was
really.
really the beginning of a great run
That
with
was it.
Mariano. People always talk about Eli Manning or Derek Jeter.
Sure.
Mariano's been a cornerstone of this company in so many ways because, really much more of a flexible guy to do things for fans, fan-friendly guy.
He's approachable. Good
Very
person.
approachable, but, listen, very conservative. Also, we always say Mo rhyme with no. He always said no to a lot of things, but he was
there's nothing wrong
focused
with no.
on one thing.
Pitching. Damn
The
straight.
cutter. But, he was a great get. And that night, I was like, Larry, I got to get you tomorrow, man. And I knew that was going to be the most important thing and the best thing.
I wish I would have did this show first because Larritz just came on our show.
I love Jimmy. Though. I know Jimmy when I
Another
first
good-
started Steiner back in the late 80s, when he walked around and said, listen, if I'm having to pay for anything in this town, somebody's not doing their job. With
Yeah,
my
I'll
he
tell
was
you.
great guy.
Some of the folks that you've met over the years, you remember them. It's about relationships that you built and how you retain those relationships over the years. But if you look at those folks, how they shaped your life, good and bad, right?
You learn.
You learn.
You always learn.
And you learn. And the thing is, now you're giving that to other folks in your books, in your podcasts, in your mentorship, all the things that you do, you're giving. So that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at what we're trying to do, we're trying to get guys like you to do your own shows, right? Like we're looking to bring in certain folks to build that content around product, around data, and around engaging, entertaining content that people are learning and take something from that program. But again, then we're going to push them through the funnel. So you're saying how, not to digress, but to how do we get them to push the button? Well, they listen to the show. Let's take your show.
Where do I get
show.
Craig's show? But where do I get Craig's show?
Rock and Reilly's live, 9 to 1. You can come listen to it live.
Or
you can get it on iHeart, TuneIn, terrestrial radio stations. Where they're starting
we'll be on Fantasy Sports Network too?
Fantasy Sports Network, Fantasy
so he's going to be on
websites.
TVN Radio simulcast?
Oh, yeah. Facebook, Twitter,
Oh, so he's
Periscope.
he'll have a
everywhere.
pretty big following.
So what we're doing is
Wow.
we're trying to come up with our own rating. I want to change the way people consume content, and I want it to be rated differently. So in other words, you would look at the wars on radio, terrestrial radio. You look at Sirius. How does Sirius, you tell me how Sirius sells advertising when they're not Arbitron rated. They have their own rating. So now with the new world, you can get his show, YouTube, TuneIn, iHeart. You can get it on my channel, the Fantasy Sports app. You go to FNTSY, the app. You download the app, and you can listen to us all day. Our podcasts.
How many different shows on that?
10, 12 different shows. So
Oh,
you can
wow.
get that.
Wow.
So there's many ways to do it. But let's say you download
And a lot
the
of
app.
offbeat shows, I would imagine.
We have
Different.
great shows.
Not traditional,
No,
typical.
Best Friends Forever, silly, but they have a meaning to them, and they help you make money in your sport, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whether
Okay.
it's daily fantasy sports, season-long fantasy sports, gambling, gaming. It doesn't matter. There's a purpose.
Hold on 1 second. If you have a question for Lewis, by the way, jump in.
Yeah, please.
Email in. Ben's going to start racking through some of the questions in a few minutes. So there's a participation conversation.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with this stuff. Fascinated. Fantasy sports, same kind of thing. But I'm still trying to get my arms around, like, with the fantasy sports and the data. Like, are people just buying your data?
Yeah.
Or is
Okay,
that...
So when you ask
How
that
do I buy
question-
that data
right.
personally?
So let's just take Craig's show. So if you go on to that show, you're going to hear in-content mentions. So let's say Daily Roto. I own Daily Roto. Roto Experts. I own Roto Experts. I own Esports Network. So what happens is, whatever your fancy is, whatever you're interested in, you're going to hear a commercial. You're going to hear the host talk about it in content, not just commercials. There's commercials. We do Steiner commercials. We do Modell's commercials. We do New Era commercials, right? Those are commercials. But now we have in content where somebody's talking about the Yankee game or Stanton striking out X number of times, why he dropped on our rankings. Well, if you want more rankings, go to rotoexperts.com and click the Buy Now button, and you can get our expert rankings. If you follow Scott Angle or you follow Drew Dinkmeyer, go to dailyroto.com and buy those rankings.
Rankings for fantasy sports?
For fantasy sports, for esports, for whatever you're looking to participate in the sports.
So this will give you an edge. If you're a fantasy sports player, you've got all the edge and data to help me support who I should be picking up, trading, buying,
You just
selling.
said it. It's the edge. It's the edge. We have algorithms. It's the edge. We're giving you something that nobody else can do. And again, remember what I said in the beginning of this. We're competing for people's time. I save people time. My company saves people time. You come to us, you click that button for $29.95 a month or whatever it is, right? You're going to pay for that data to help you win at whatever you're doing. It could be your office pool. It could be daily fantasy on DraftKings, FanDuel. It could be
So it's kind of that level now where
Oh,
people
it's-
are paying for data so
Okay.
they can win their office fantasy pools or
Millions.
ESPN fantasy pools.
millions
or,
of dollars. Yeah. Millions
But
of
there's a
dollars.
lot of money at stake. Are people making millions of dollars now on this kind of stuff?
So
On
that-
fantasy
right.
sports, people making millions
Yeah,
of dollars?
So
Really?
Drew Dinkmeyer, who runs my content, what my fear of Drew Dinkmeyer, who runs dailyroto.com, I would say top in the industry. You have a few out there. You can argue with me. We're top 3. I believe we're the best, but you can argue top 3. So if you go to dailyroto.com, you know that the person that is running my content is in the mud. The guy every single day plays. And we have his statistics out there. You can go to Roto Grinders, which is a competitor but a friend.
Yep.
I believe all boats rise when you work together. So it's not that I'm...
Here.
That's right. Hell yeah. So Roto Grinders, great. Cal Spears, great company. They're doing some great stuff out there. But you can go to those sites and find out who the best guys that are in the mud, the guys that are really winning money.
Define in the mud.
So in the mud to me is every single day you live it. It's not that you're just passionate about something or educated in something. You have to live it, do it, work it. So it'd be great if you love basketball, but you work at Deutsche Bank, but you play on the weekends once in a while. But if you get up every single morning and you're playing basketball, you're a basketball player. You're coaching every single day. You're a basketball coach. It's good to talk about what you like to do, but you actually have to do it. That's being in the mud. Doing it every single day, not when you feel like it. Not turning it on, turning it off. Like, that's the thing about folks. That's what I love about you. I get an email from you every single week about when we're playing basketball. I get the podcast from you. I know you're consistent. See, being consistent is very important. That's part of being in the mud. To me, living it, being passionate, doing it every day and being consistent, to me, is being in the mud. You're in the mud.
No question. I'm
question.
filthy.
You're filthy, baby.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Are you in the mud?
I'm in the mud, man. Are they in the mud?
I've been in the mud a long time,
and if
man.
they're not, they better get in the mud. So
yeah.
There's
now,
money to be made.
So you got all this content, all this data.
That's from a B2C, business to consumer. Then we sell to ESPN.
So if I wanted to buy this data, the best site to go on, let's say, would be what?
Yeah, so let's say you love season-long fantasy. So some of your listeners out there, if you love season-long fantasy, go to www.rotoexperts.com and buy a season-long package for baseball.
Okay.
And you'll be able to play your season-long with your buddies and in your pool. If you're a daily fantasy player, we're just taking fantasy. It could be esports or it could be others. But if you're playing daily fantasy, go to www.dailyroto.com, and then you can buy the specific sports. Like it could be baseball,
people playing
basketball.
daily fantasy and betting and winning on tonight's games.
Yeah, so that's our entry fees.
Wow.
They like to stay away from the gambling because of the regulation. But the truth is, again, I just tell it like it is. It's all gambling, right? If you're putting money up and winning more money, it's gambling. So
I think so.
I'm sorry, just the way it works.
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah,
we give you the edge and we help you win. But we also save you time by using our algorithms, our database, our technology to build a lineup in 5 minutes or less that's competitive. So see, somebody like you'd play. There's a barrier to entry. You think you know sports. We know sports. But guess what? If you come on our site with your knowledge and you tweak those lineups that we give you through our algorithms, you're going to be competitive tonight. And guess what? For $5, you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun. You may win $1 million.
Yeah, my fear why I don't do that is because I would never get off. I wouldn't stop. I know the way I am. I'd be up all night and I would just not stop. And I don't. I'm already so in the mud with trying to figure out whose autographs and whose game used products or we can actually use for an appearance, who we can market. That this would just take me over the top, and I'd end up divorced, and my kids wouldn't be talking to me. But I get why people get all consumed with that. I get that.
But here's the problem. This is what I don't want to tell you and your staff. If you did play fantasy, if you did understand the data behind fantasy,
it would probably help us with Steiner.
Oh, God help. Oh, my God. It wouldn't just help you. So the companies that buy data from us, you'd be very surprised. They're buying it for all different reasons. So I'll give you ESPN. So ESPN, that's our business to business. So it'd be SportsGrid to Steiner. So you'd be buying data from me.
Yep.
What would you be looking for? You'd be looking for who the next hot prospect is. I could tell you. I'll put my guys up against your guys any day of the week and twice on Sunday. We win. We'll win. Hands down.
So I'm always looking for that. I really should be going to your site and be trying to get that data.
Yeah, but you're my friend, so we would do some kind of barter.
But still,
we're the king of barter, right?
I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking this out too hard. Maybe I just need to be making that phone call.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Tell me if Tyler Wade, or telling me if Didi Gregorius is going to be.
No joke. We could tell you. I really would put my guys up against your guys because that's what they do every day. That's what they have to produce, or we lose.
Let me ask you a question, and Ben. We got to get to some questions, but one quick thing on the gambling thing, which really intrigues me because is it going to? How much further is it going to go with people now they're betting the under over? Mm-hmm. But when I look at the Super Bowl and there's like 70 different bets
They're prop bets, yes.
Will we see prop bets in every sport, in every aspect, every day, every night at some point?
1,000%, yeah.
Really? What's stopping that from happening, and what kind of bets will we see?
The problem is that the right now, because of the laws, I think that it's difficult for folks to be able to have as much fun as they want with the over-unders and the prop bets. Why? Because there's a fine line between what's real gambling and fantasy, and there's the lines are blurred. Everything's gray now, right? So most companies like me don't want to play in a gray area. We want black or white. I grew up in a way where this is right, this is wrong, and you have to do it that way. So I'm waiting for what is about to go down in the next couple of months. We had Governor Christie on my show, the Carton Show, the other day, discussing it. It'd be great for folks to go listen to that.
Where did I find that? That's a good interview.
Yeah. So what you would want to do is just type in Carton and Friends. It's our new show. I think it's going to go to #1 I think it'll.
He thinks it's going to go to number one.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to number one in the first 6 months that it's out. I would
You're
say
that confident, and
yeah,
it's just going to be just Carton alone, or
Carton and friends. So we have
some different characters.
So let me describe it the way he likes to describe it.
Go ahead.
In the first time, we're going to
Craig
prove
Carton's
to the world.
the former, by the way. For those, there are people over the world. So Craig Carton is this really hot morning DJ on WFAN. He got into a little bit of trouble. We'll leave it at that. That's still up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen.
No.
And now he is the character of all characters,
Hell
no
yeah.
question. And a very unusual character and extremely entertaining. And now he's teamed up with Lewis to do his own show. And he always
it's called Carton and Friends. And he had the number one morning show, and nobody ever knew. Was it the combination? Was it Carton? I always had a feeling it was him. So what I wanted to see before we hired him.
Boomer's the real deal too.
Well,
but the thing is with Carton though, I mean Boomer's the real deal. It was a good. It worked.
I love him.
Bottom line, but is this going to be an unfiltered Carton?
Yeah.
Because I never felt like he was really doing it the way he wanted to do it. Obviously.
Well, we thought about calling it Carton Unleashed. We did. We did. Carton Unfiltered was we had the team present what they thought would be right. But I can tell you this. Carton, when it was Boomer and Carton, Boomer was the straight guy. I love Boomer for many things. My sister passed away with cystic fibrosis. My father developed the first, MJM percussor named after my sister, and that now is the vest. So I love him.
Yeah,
and I'll always be
he's the real deal.
Loyal to him because he's a great person. Raised a tremendous amount of money for my charity, which
is
cystic
talent.
fibrosis.
He's a talent on the field, off the field, on the
just
air.
a good person.
So
yeah, for me, I start there and then I work my way down. But when it comes to radio, I watch the ratings drop, unfortunately for them, on WFAN without Craig. I just think there was a chemistry there, straight man, and you're right. And I think, I said to myself, maybe it's the right opportunity for me to go get somebody like Craig where I don't have to spend as much money, and the risk, it's a trade that I look at everything as a trade. And for me, the risk for worse, the risk up against the reward is pretty good on this one. So to me, seeing that show go down without Carton meant that Carton was a big part of it. Maybe more so than the rest of that crew.
But you could build this entity up and then lose him.
Okay, so hopefully our lawyers did a good job tying him up. I'm hoping that contract will hold up. Yeah,
I'm hoping that his lawyers are going to enable him not to go to jail, though. That's a big risk too, though.
That's a big risk.
It's a big risk.
But I also think there's a way to handle that too, depending on.
But
how
that's
it
intriguing,
happens.
though. There's something. That's intriguing to want to listen to him. Like this guy is on the hot seat. And see how this whole thing's going to play out.
Yeah, that's part of it too. That's the entertainment, right?
Yeah, it's kind of part of it. Like everybody, people feel like there's a connection to Craig. A lot of people listen to Craig.
I feel connected to him.
Boomer and Carton. There's no doubt. Yeah. And I think people are intrigued to stay connected with him because we're all not perfect, and we're all better than our worst mistake.
That's damn right.
And so he just. He's in the limelight, so this is on a. But we've all been down the road. We've done something really stupid, so he'd be no different. And I think we all want to see how you unravel out of this. Now you come back from this, right?
And I believe in second chances. So, and I also believe that you're innocent until proven guilty, and I believe that friendship doesn't change because people make mistakes. So he was my friend.
It's
before.
Amazing how many people
run,
and something happens, they're done.
Yeah,
Ray Rice, or I remember
he was on my show. He was just
remember
on
when
show.
David Cohn, Ray's up here all the time.
He was on the show.
Listen, and
Johnny
by the way,
Franco,
I don't.
I love
these guys.
Yankees,
I'm not hiding. I don't stand. I'm like that was stupid.
Yeah,
and they should be punished, and there should be repercussions. But you got to stay by your friends. You got to stick with people and help them through it, so they can make good and make it right.
That's right.
Right.
And my thing too.
It's amazing how many people just sprint away, man. Something happens, boom. You're like, they're wiping you right out.
My father taught me a pretty important lesson years ago. And it started with, you're not God. And I didn't really understand what he meant by that. I was helping a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name. We'll just call him Eddie. My friends at home will know who he is. And he had a problem with drugs. And came to me. And, I wanted to get him help. And, I went with him to the meetings and gave him money. And I did all these things. And unfortunately, he went back, right? And I remember my father saying to me, why are you so upset about this? You're not God. And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, why you tried to help somebody. Once a druggie, always a druggie. once a this, always a that. You know, that's what our parents and people that we respected in the day would teach you. But I thought, you know, I'm a better person than that, and you know, I'm going to help and I'm going to get involved, and I can change the way things end. And the bottom line is, when he says you're not God, you can't change people if they don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You can be there and support them all you want, but they have to want to help themselves. They want to have to help, you know, and get the help and really try to get back on track. So with this particular person, I believe him. I'm going to stand behind him. And if things don't go our way, I'm still going to be there at the end of the day, and I'm going to continue to help that person. Why? Because I think he's a tremendous talent. I think sports radio needs somebody right now. I think there's a tremendous opportunity. And from the selfish standpoint, not being God anymore, from the selfish standpoint, the risk-reward works for me and my business, and I'll make no mistake about that. And together, I think we can make music, and with music, you can make money.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got a question for Lewis? Please chime in right underneath there. Ben, a couple questions?
First one is from Keith. He's asking, is there a method today, in today's technology world, without to reach the masses without using social media?
Yeah. Email.
Listen, I'm not a big fan of email.
Or Scipio. You can go Scipio, which is a text application where you can
mass
text
texting.
Mass texting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What I think is nowadays, if you look at what I'm doing, I believe in the power of audio and video. Not necessarily social media platforms. You can use those social media platforms because it's of the audience extension that those platforms have. But you also can get lost in the sauce, right? So take Twitch, for instance, right? I have channels on Twitch. They're huge, huge. And do I think someday you'll be able to monetize that? Yeah, absolutely. I rather go directly to the source. I rather go directly to the consumer, right? And you're going to say, well, how do you do that? Well, you can create your own app, like Fantasy Sports Radio app. So, but you can also think Google Home, Android, Alexa, right? There's so many other ways to reach massive folks.
Almost too many ways.
Again, there's the problem. Too many ways. So this is what we're testing. If you look at what we're doing, if you guys go right now and try to find Carton and Friends, there's so many ways to find it, from YouTube to using the social media, Periscopes and Twitters and all the social media that they're talking about. You're going to find them some way. You're going to listen and consume it the way you want to consume it. My real end game here is to take all that data and figure out how we can come up with some type of rating system for all social, mobile networks, so that somebody can quantify, a sponsor, an advertiser can say, hey, they have X many views here and X many views here, but hey, what is the demo? Where are they reaching? Where are they going afterwards? Taking the rich, real data and giving it to the consumer, right? And giving it back to the people that are buying the sponsorships. So,
did you get a sponsor for the show yet?
Yeah.
Have you sold a couple sponsors?
Yeah, so we have about 3 sponsors now. We're going to announce them with the launch of the terrestrial
That's cool.
Distribution. So we're excited, yeah.
And what else you got there, buddy?
So people asking, kind of along the lines of what you guys were just talking about Carton, about the risk reward of signing him versus not signing him. With
Can see
everything that he's
Carton
dealing with.
doing a Yankee game while the game is going on, commentating through his view, because he's unfiltered almost anyway, you know, about what he really sees, because nobody really does that, really. Ed's done a good job with that, you know, commentating a game unfiltered.
Yeah, so
because he is a sport, he does know his sports.
So let me touch on that. All right. So here's how I look at it. I can watch the guy eat a wing, and it's entertaining to me. I'm a very hard sell. You can't get my attention for more than 2 minutes. I'm gone. You're not on point, I'm gone. I'm out of a meeting. I literally get up and walk out of meetings. If you don't know the numbers or your pitch, I'm gone, right? With him, there's something about that guy. He has it. There's something special about him.
You just don't know what he's going to say, for one.
Okay, I like that. This demo, think about Barstool. Why is Barstool so successful?
You never know what they're going to say or what they're going to do.
But it's all...
And it's unfiltered.
Right.
Because every now and then you get an F-bomb. It's real.
Right.
It actually sounds real. Like, and nobody really wants to get this, you know, premeditated, you know, don't say anything bad about anybody's shit, because it's not real.
No.
And that's why people love the
Real
Barstool,
rich
because
data, real
they'll
rich
torch you
content.
in a minute and then throw more gasoline and torch you again just for fun and shits and giggles.
That's right.
And I could see unfiltered Carton going that direction like that.
Right. So
Yeah.
when they talk about the risk reward, this is how I look at it. So I know he's talented. I know he had a #1 show. I know that I can get him because of I have leverage, let's put it that way, to get him to do what I need him to do because of the situation. Now, as a partnership, you don't want to use that leverage in the wrong way. You want to use it in the right way.
Yes.
And I think I'm doing it the correct way. And what I'm trying to do with him is get him to be a national brand. So instead of being a homer, right, the Yankees, the Knicks, blah, blah, talk about, get away from that and become a national brand, take over the airways, whether it's Periscope to terrestrial radio and everything in between, where we own the airwaves, audio, not terrestrial radio, not satellite radio, but audio, wherever audio is, podcasts, right, on your apps, social media. I want him to be a national brand, and I want to help him get there. And I believe with my connections, with our connections, we can help him get there. Now, here's the risk reward. You say, well, why? Why him? Well, I just told you the leverage part, and I think that I there's a cost to get him with the risk, but I think that it outweighs it all. I think that I can make hay if he does get into some more trouble. We can actually be entertaining and wait for him, and depending on how it goes down, we can put things and cameras in his home, and there's many things that this can play out that can be pretty interesting and fun and entertaining. But here's the best part. Let me ask you a question. What's the #1 radio show out there? Whatever you call audio or radio, what's the best show out there? Is it Chris Russo, Mad Dog? I doubt it. Is it the new Boomer and Geo? I doubt it. So what is it? Like, what are you listening to now? What captures your attention, holds your attention? What can you get in the morning, get at nighttime, go to VOD? What is it?
your favorite sports talk radio show? I want to hear from you now. Please put it in there. I mean, Mike Francesa, he's on holiday for I don't know how long. I don't know where he's going to end up. Any idea?
Well, I'm hoping with me.
You never know. But tell me who your favorite sports
How great would that
personality
be?
on air is, or your favorite show, and why.
Right.
But could Mike end up with you? Are you bidding on that?
We have a plan to try to get something done there. I want to do it so that it's easy for him. My team has worked on some other folks. He is one of the people that have come up in conversation, some sports stars, some females that are out there on competing networks.
Wow. This
Yeah.
is just not the direction I thought this conversation
Yeah,
was going.
yeah.
By the way, you got balls, man. I
Yeah.
got to be honest with
Yeah,
you. Like,
there it is.
I
There
don't
it is.
say that to a lot of guests, but you got balls.
Thank
I
you.
mean, this whole direction is...
Where's my signed book? That's what I want to know.
No,
Where's
you're gonna
my
get it
signed
today.
book?
I'm signing you-
signed
yeah,
though.
I'm signing
Last
your book
time you
today.
said you were going to sign it for me, and then
I'm
we didn't-
signing
we
it
didn't
today
have-
for you.
okay,
First of
okay.
all, you know I'm a big fan of yours, but
Same here. Mutual.
I got to tell you, man, you reached a different... Matter of fact, I'm going, you got huge balls. Like, this balls. Not only the Carton thing, but just in general, the whole disruption
Yeah.
of, like, you know something? Sports radio is flat. I'm taking
it's
this
a mess.
over.
It's a mess.
And you're going to put in the element that you know there's an underlying tone to, which most sports talk radio doesn't talk about gambling, fantasy sports,
We talk about
and
it
all
all.
that stuff. Most avoid that.
Sex, drugs, and rock and
They're
roll.
talking about the under-over,
Yep.
talking about all the
We
stuff
talk
that
about
really
it
all
What
want to
used
talk
to be
about.
taboo. It's not taboo anymore. This is what the kids want. Listen, think about it. Pot, right? Legal. Gambling, legal. These are all the things that are being pushed. In our day, taboo. Like, if you smoke pot in business, did drugs, you were looked down upon, right? Now, these people with the vape, I'm out. We're at a business meeting. We go have a drink. They're pulling out the vape. So I think they're smoking cigarette or tobacco, which I don't smoke. They're smoking marijuana, CBD, athletes, to recover. And they talk about it right in public.
Yes, yes.
There's no, they're ashamed of it. So now it's becoming mainstream. So why, if it's mainstream for people to talk about in certain circles, why can't we talk about it on TV, radio, what I call audio and video? Why can't we do that? Why can't we take over those means and medium and airwaves to disseminate information safe and effective, and help people with these things and make it more an educational, data-centric, where people are getting something out of the entertainment.
You're a
content.
disruptor, man.
I hope so.
I think so. Ben, any other questions there?
Can I come
Couple
work
other
for you if it
questions?
doesn't work
By the
out?
way, I want to hear your sport. I'm curious who people love on the radio. Like, I'm a big Anita Marks fan. By the way, she's coming on air
I'd love
tomorrow.
to get her. Oh, I'd love to get her.
And I love Anita. I'm not going to lie. I love Anita Marks. Like, besides the fact that she's hot,
She's got balls.
she's got balls. There's no filter. If you get to catch Anita Marks without a filter,
So true.
I mean, you just don't find women with this kind of sports depth knowledge. She played football, which is very hot to me.
Yeah, me
She's
too.
just the whole complete package.
Same with me.
I mean, she's
I agree.
the whole thing. I really,
I'd love to get
right?
her too, yeah.
You can go to a horse race with her. You can go dance with her. You can have dinner with her. You can get into a business conversation with her.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's much she can't do. I'm kind of a big fan. I'm looking forward to that conversation, which we
Yeah, I'd
kind
like to
of
listen.
packaged you guys up a little bit, thinking,
Sure.
you know, a little bit of the same kind of idea. But I just, to me, it's like I could see things changing because people really are listening to more pods, stuff like this, which is unfiltered. And we can do what we want. We're not stopping like I was listening to radio today going into the city. I don't know, it had to be like 8 minutes of commercials. I was like, this sucks.
Terrible.
This is just so boring. I mean, and I'm listening to commercials that aren't even that good. That's what's even more bothersome. Like, how could you even put this commercial on the air?
Yeah.
Like, who's listening to this? It's horrible.
Yeah, you have to cut it up today. I mean, your crew knows that. You have to cut it up
Yeah.
and make it. I call it bite-sized, consumable
Yeah,
content.
snackable content,
Snackable
yeah.
content. You have to do that. You have to grab the moments
Yeah.
that will resonate with the audience. Give them something to remember and take home, because that clip will get them to come and watch the entire show. So with you, sometimes I'll get a snippet, and then I'll go back late at night when I'm relaxing to time.
That's Ben. That's what Ben does.
That's right.
That's
See?
what Ben does. He
That's what I
cuts
do.
up that little piece, gets you teased
That's
in,
right.
and you want to go watch the whole thing.
It's teasing, yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Ben, remember that we really didn't get a big following with A-Rod. We've done a couple interviews with Alex, and we put a couple of snippets in the office, and everybody started. They were like, "Wow, this is really good." But you
Just
know
put a
what you're
picture
gonna
of
get.
J-Lo, and then
Yeah.
you're good.
J-Rod.
You're good to go.
But
No,
like
J-Lo,
him, by the way,
J-Lo.
liking Sunday Night Baseball with Alex. Did you?
Wasn't a fan.
He's got
I had
to
to tell
take
you.
the filter off, man.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, because
Listen, I
I'll
know
tell
we
you,
love
I've
him.
sat
He's
with
a
him and
friend.
watched.
Yeah, I know, but
I've watched a lot with him, and when you get the real opinion, it's
Yeah.
amazing his view.
Yeah.
But we're not getting that. I think he's afraid.
Yeah.
Either you have fear or faith. You can't have both.
no, you have to have balls. You got to do what you believe.
He's in a fearful
gut
state.
feeling. Yep, I agree.
I
I agree.
mean,
and you
I-
see it. It comes through. It
Yeah.
comes through. It
Kinda-
comes through.
he's
So
kinda- yeah.
I'm not a fan
He's
of what
just
he's
trying to
doing
figure
now.
how to get along.
Yeah, and that's not
Yeah.
really the way to break into the business.
I'm not loving that.
Me either.
Ben,
I'm
a
sorry.
couple more questions there for my man here, Lewis.
Just a couple of people commenting about the national radio versus local radio debate, and a couple of people saying that they actually prefer local radio
Yep.
because it's a little bit more closely tied to their interests.
Yeah, and
what's your answer to that?
Yeah, so in this area, and again, my team is fighting with me on this, and we're going to see who's going to be right and who's going to be wrong here. And again, I am, trying to change the way the world is getting their content. And listen, the safe way to go with Craig is Homer, local,
But remember, Lewis, local. I mean, people talk about New York as local. There's nothing local about New York,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's a sixth
we go,
of the
yeah.
national market.
Yep.
It's not like a typical local.
Okay.
New York's almost a national.
So take, for instance, you wear a Yankee hat. You go anywhere in the world, everyone knows what it is, right?
Yes, we do.
So you're right in that. But what I'm talking about, and I think what the listeners
Yeah.
want to know, is they want to hear Craig talk about the Yankees, the Jets, the Giants, right, the Rangers. They want to hear that. I'm not saying you're not going to get it. I'm just saying you're going to get more. You're going to get that in bite-sized content that we can send out, and you, as a consumer, can go to it, click it, and listen to that if that's all you want. But I want the show to be a national show that others can go get what they want to get when they want to get it, and they don't have to listen to the whole damn show because it's 4 hours. The show's 4 hours. So if you think about it, if you make it national, just hear me out for a second, because I'm telling you, we're having a debate in the company, and I'm losing right now. I believe I'm going to win in the end. I believe people are going to come to my side, because here's the thing.
There hasn't
You
been
can
a
have
lot of
one
national radio shows that
win,
worked.
that make it. You're right. And listen, I'm telling you, I'm a statistics guy, and everybody's giving me all that. But just listen for 1 second. If you have 4 hours and you make it a national show, you can cut it up so that you're getting that local show that people love inside of the national show. But now, if you're somewhere in Kentucky, and you're listening to the airwaves, and I have my clock set for terrestrial radio, you can get it there in its entirety. Listen when you want, and then VOD, let it drop down to VOD, and then you can get the bite-sized
I'm not
content.
sure I'm buying that, Lewis.
I know.
Because you know why I'm not buying that? Because I think a lot of people are listening for more than an hour. I think they've got the radio on for 3 hours,
God,
4
I hope
hours.
so.
I do.
So then my thing is, do you want to talk about the local teams for 4 hours? I don't think you should. I don't think it makes sense.
But what's the most popular sports talk show that's ever been? You know the answer to that.
Yeah.
You don't want to admit that
Yeah,
answer,
I'm
but you
not-
know the answer to that. And it's not some show in Kentucky.
No.
And it's not some
I
national
know.
show that's been on ESPN,
Yeah,
because
I know.
ESPN has failed miserably
No.
with a multiple of national shows. It's Mike and the
Mike.
Mad Dog.
Right. So Mike and Mike
Is the only thing
Mike
close.
And Mad Dog, yeah. But here's the thing.
But Mike and Mike didn't necessarily work that great in New York.
That's what I was going to say. So there's a trade-off in everything in life. There's a trade-off.
Unless Carton gets more centralized and he's not only talking about sports issues, but he's getting kind of
Fantasy.
centered. Yeah.
Think about it, guys. Why is fantasy successful? Because local radio, it works because the local guy that loves the Yankees wants to hear about his fantasy team. So just take fantasy, for instance. Fantasy is national. It's not local.
By the way, why 9? You said 9 to
9-1.
Why not 8 or 7? I don't hear the logic on that. You're missing the drive time.
Yeah,
Well,
so this is what I love about you. So, yeah, you're not going to like this answer.
Craig didn't want to wake up that early?
No,
Oh.
no. So the show was originally it was a morning drive show. Okay, 6 to 9, 6 to 10.
Hard
so,
to get the pickups?
So this is where, again, being me is not so easy sometimes. So the original plan for everybody out there was 6 to 9, Carton, Unleashed, 9 to 10, Carton and Friends. Why? Because we want to bring in folks, circle folks. You'd go in, I'd go in, he'd go in, she'd go in, Anita, Jamil, whatever, right? Dr. J, whatever. And we'd find that other host for, God forbid, in a year or so, a year and a half, if things go wrong, we'd be able to keep the show going until he comes back. That was the original plan. Now what happens is we go out and we start talking to radio stations. Let's just put it that way, big ones. And I'm not going to say
They don't
the
want
group.
They don't want to take the chance on the drive time.
So what happens is we go talk to this group. I don't want to mention any names. We're talking to the president of a very big company, and that you all listen to. And that person told us to talk to the SVP. So we talked to that person, and they tell us, oh, you don't want to compete with all these folks. And they give us all the folks in that time zone. Here's the time zone you want to go against. And I don't want to say why and how we can beat the shit out of beat up this group.
So you're more focused on the West Coast.
So what happens is we change and we move to accommodate them to get more stations, exposure, and clearance, because that's important, distribution and clearance.
Okay,
so we moved it.
for distribution.
So we did it.
And also you got the West Coast, because that's their drive time.
And then that's right. And guess what happened?
Tell me.
They passed on the show. You know what? We want to see it for a few weeks. We want to see it. So
Who jumps in the water first? I mean, I'm waiting for my kids and my wife to jump in. Then I decide how cold it is.
Yeah. So some folks are saying I made a mistake on shifting the time and the clock to accommodate these folks that now are saying, hey, let's see how it goes.
Or at least 8. I mean, or 7:30. But
so let me tell you how it's going to work. So I'm not working with them, and we're going to sign a deal with another company. And you're going to hear about it in the next 2 weeks. And we're.
By the way,
forward,
I just want to throw my 2 cents in. I got to probably throw my hat in there. Maybe Anita being one of those friends. I'm a little biased because I've been pitching Anita to you, but I could see Anita being, if it's unfiltered.
Yeah.
I could see Anita carrying her weight.
Yeah.
As one of those, almost like when I see Howard Stern. And I know this is going to sound a little biased, but which I don't mean to. But when I look at the Howard Stern show, which to me is the most successcal radio show of all time,
Greatest interview of all time.
Of all time. If I want to think, when I always think of anything, I would think of what's the best that's ever been, because I want to beat that, frankly, right?
Yep.
And I think of that, and I think about Howard Stern, and I think about one of his key sidekicks was, what's her name?
Robin.
Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she could be Robin to Batman.
Yeah.
Along with possibly,
Oh, yeah.
a cast of characters that could fill.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you could fit in with Carton. Like, you go to Carton's house, even though it's the first time you were there, you're comfortable.
Yep.
You know, I haven't been on the air with him and everything. Like, you can get into his kitchen
Sure.
quickly, and it's not a big deal. Some people's house, you go in, you're immediately like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm uncomfortable. Like, you have no idea where the bathroom is. Like, you know, at Carton's house, you probably go in, just open up the refrigerator. You wouldn't have any, right? He's not
So I wasn't allowed to open.
He's that kind of guy.
I'm an Italian, and that's one thing that's off limits. Your
Not in
Italian
my
mother
house.
tells you, listen, if I go to your house and I open up your refrigerator and you tell my mother, I'm a dead man.
No, we
That's
expect you to.
that's
You go to
tough.
my
You can't
house,
do
you
it.
go right in the kitchen cupboard. Everything is yours. Is
You wouldn't
mine.
tell my mom, though, would
Not
you?
at all.
You wouldn't, right? Because I'd be in big
Not
trouble.
at all.
That was like
but
a big
but I
no-no.
could see Anita like being able to hang with him, particularly on the
And
fantasy.
Anita can hang with anybody. I mean, let's face it. She's
maybe not a
she's
crazy
intimidating.
thought.
No, I've thought
not
about
crazy.
it. So we have in my office, I have a decision tree, right?
Really?
Oh yeah.
And what's that look
on
like?
Everything. Oh, it's a mess.
I mean,
it's a war. They call it the war room.
On everything you're doing, it's like
Everything.
different trees.
Like I don't have anything on my walls. It's just whiteboards with decision trees. So Anita's on it, by the way.
I love that.
Yeah, so she's on
that's
it.
Brilliant.
So it shows that if this, then this, and you just keep going, and then you start crossing out, and that's how you come up with your decision. Craig was all over it, and now he's in the center of it, right? Because now he's got his own wall, and he's the center, and we're trying to build off of that.
It's a big
show.
decision, though.
Oh yeah.
Right? This
Absolutely.
wasn't a light decision.
No, it's one of the biggest. This one can take us down. I mean, this is one that can. This could end it all. Like just
Depending on how the media responds or how people respond,
Yes,
or
great question. That was a big risk in the beginning. It's not a risk anymore because if you see how that went down, there was no real backlash there that we were afraid of. You know, sponsors dropping, you know, crazy stories, you know, people trying to get their 15 seconds of fame, write an article, a bad article, you know, rumors coming out, you know, fake news, if you will, right, about all this stuff and putting us in a bad light. That didn't happen. So you know, the first part of that decision tree already was wiped out, the problems there that could arise and the PR and putting people on staff to make sure that they handle that.
Wow.
We didn't have to deal with it.
It's crazy.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God. Knock wood.
I could spend all day with you,
I
man.
know,
This
same with
is
you. I
always
love you.
interesting shit. But closing remarks, you know, for people out there,
Sure.
if you're in fantasy, go where. If you love betting, go where. And by the way, like when you're rocking Raleigh's, are you like? Is there always shows going on? Do you get to listen and watch those too?
Yeah. So you have shows. There's weekly shows. There's daily shows. Carton Show is the one I think that people should really take a look
And if
at.
you want to get the data, like if I want to get data, if you're a fantasy player out there, how do I get data?
Go to dailyroto.com. I think that's the best
the
place to go. Yeah.
Do you love a particular fantasy game, one over the other, or
Yeah. I love the Millie Maker on FanDuel and DraftKings. I think that's really cool because for a couple bucks you can play and you can win $1 million or $2 million. You know,
Really?
To me, that's fun. And guys like us, you don't really need for football. You don't really need the statistics and the data that you need for baseball and basketball because you really have to be in the mud and know the statistics. Like basketball, you have to know the time. Like, is the coach sitting that player? Right? You could play the best player, but he's sitting, or is he hurt? You know, or was he out drinking last night? Like, you have to know those facts. But in football, you kind of know who's playing. The injuries come out at a certain time. Guys like you and I, we know the game. We can put a competitive lineup together. Guess what? For a couple bucks with your kids, you can watch the games. You know, you have them pick, you know, what players they like, and you can put a few teams together. Maybe 5-6 teams. Spend, you know, let's say $100, and you can win a few $1 million.
But you can't play that with baseball. It's more of a football play.
I think baseball, the sharks will eat you up because the guys that are really in the mud every day know the statistical data against you.
That's
and
the
you're not
problem. When
gonna
you're
have a
playing these
competitive
fantasy
lineup.
games, you are playing against some sharks.
That's why you have to come to Daily Roto and buy the subscription.
Okay.
If you want to be
Gotcha.
competitive and
Gotcha.
you want to do it in 5-10 minutes, you need to come there. But football is different. Why are you asking for me? That's my favorite one because I don't have to do the homework and I don't have to do the work and I feel like I'm competitive and I have a good time. It's entertaining.
Lewis, we got to get you back here, my friend. It's great
Always,
to see you.
Love you.
SportsLink, Fantasy Sports Network. You'll see him on TV, radio, actually every platform. Go check out Carton and Friends. That's going to be cool in the afternoon. It's late morning, I should say.
Yeah.
9:01.
repeats.
I love that.
Yep.
There's always something going on that network. Now that I know where to find it, it took me a while to find it on my cable.
Yeah.
It's great having you, my friend.
Thank
Hey,
you.
for all those of you that froze your asses off this week, speak up. Say something. I mean, don't really. Speak up. I don't know. I'm trying to get over it. I haven't been able to get over myself. It's so cold this week. I'm just...
Friday, 70
I was
degrees.
looking forward to opening day and all that. I mean, like, there's nothing like Yankee opening day to me is like, that is heaven. That's just a beautiful day. You know what I mean? And then I don't know, the weather, and it just bummed me out this week. But I'm, listen, I think it's all going to work out. And
Sun's coming.
yeah, sun's going to come out tomorrow.
Right.
Annie, right? Have a great day. Hey, listen, tomorrow Anita Marks is coming on, and she's going to bring her A game, as she always does. And then also tomorrow we're doing What's New. So we're going to be giving away a whole bunch of new products that we're creating at Steiner. Keep an eye out for both platforms. Ben, you've done a great job. Jack, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And we'll try to get to more of your questions and everything tomorrow. Have a great day.